In today's video, I'm going to talk to you about the second stage of the UK NMC application process. So if there is a topic you are looking out for, if you're a nurse or midwife seeking to complete your UK NMC registration, then this video is specifically made for you. So without wasting much time, why don't you come with me as we dive right into it. Welcome back. My name is Stack Matchman. You can simply call me Copy. If today is your first time seeing my channel, I will entreat you to subscribe and become part of the family so that anytime I upload a new video, you'll be the very first person to get it. So when it comes to the UK NMC application for nurses and midwives and perhaps nursing associates, there are two specific processes involved. Or let me say there are two stages. We have the stage 1 and then the stage 2. Now the stage 1 consists of what we call the eligibility and then your verification. So that is where the UK NMC will liaise with your home country's NMC to ensure whether you have been practicing as a nurse or midwife in your home country and that you are free to practice nursing or midwifery in the UK. So that process ends when you pay your £140. The second process starts after the UK NMC has liaised with your home country's NMC and they've said to you that you are fit to practice nursing or midwifery in the UK. So here, the UK NMC will send you what we call a decision letter. Then this decision letter comes in the form of an email specifying that you can go ahead to write your test of competence, which is the CBT, and that of the OSCE. So once you receive such email, then it's an indication that the second stage of your NMC application has started. So the second stage is called the application. That is where the main application happens, and that is what I'm going to show you in this video. So because I've made a complete video about the first stage of the UK NMC application, I'm going to skip that in this part of the video. So I'm just going to go straight to the point, then teach you how to do the second stage of the application. Okay, so if you are struggling with the first stage, I'll leave the link to the video in the description box, or I'll leave it somewhere there or here. Watch the very first part of the UK NMC application process, and I believe that should you continue to watch this part, you get a better understanding of the whole process. Most of you guys have been asking about this, and I'm here to give you that. So let's start. So what I want to say is that whatever I'm going to teach you here is going to be shown on the screen. Okay, so you see everything live and colored, so that if you want to follow along, it becomes a bit easier for you to do that. So we're going to log into our NMC online account and we see what happens. So in here, you're going to enter your email address and your password, and yeah, we move on. Okay, so when you log into your UK NMC account, you see something like this. Okay, eligibility, qualification, application preparation, OSCE, CBT, and then yeah, a whole lot of that. So what you have got to do to continue the second stage of the UK NMC application is to click on the option that says apply now. So once you click on apply now, this is what you will see: health, character, English language, scope of practice, and then declaration. So I'm just going to take you through each one of these and then I'll explain alongside. So now let's start with health. So I normally call this the health declaration session. This is where the UK NMC would want to be sure you are fit in health to practice nursing or midwifery in the UK. Okay, so let's read a bit of information on here and then you can see what they are expecting from you. So it says supporting declaration from a registered medical practitioner. So what they said is that please enter the details of your registered medical practitioner below. This could be your GP or family doctor, but they cannot be a friend or a family member. You will contact them and then ask for a supporting declaration about your health based on the information you have given us. What you've got to do is to enter the name of the health center or surgery this medical practitioner works. And when that is done, you've got to enter the practitioner's name. So if you know it, yeah, just got to pop that in there. The email address is very necessary and the telephone number is optional. Okay, if you know it, you can pop it. And you've got to choose the country this person is coming from, as well as the postcode, I mean the address. Yeah, and the name you are known by this person. How does he call you? So you've got to specify that in there as well. So what the UK NMC will do is that they will send a health declaration form via email to this registered medical practitioner, and then they've got to fill some questionnaires on your behalf. Okay, so these questionnaires are much more related to your health. It's just for the UK NMC to know you are fit to practice as a nurse or midwife in the UK without any hindrance. Okay, so that's basically what the health declaration is all about. Upon clicking on next, it takes you to this very column, which is the character declaration. So what does this section entails? So let's read what the UK NMC has said. So what they said is that we need information about your character. Here they're going to assess if you've not had any criminal issue that may hamper your practice as a nurse or midwife in the UK. So it says that in this session we will ask you to complete a self-declaration about your character. So this is much more of a self-declaration. You're saying that I haven't done this, I haven't done that, okay, and it comes in the form of a questionnaire. They are going to ask you a couple of questions and you've got to give answers to them. Nominate someone to make a supporting declaration and upload a police clearance or DBS certificate. Okay, you also need to tell us any relevant police charge, caution, conviction, or conditional discharges. So yeah, we're going to click on next and then we see what the whole thing is about. So once you click on next, what you've got to do is that they're going to ask you a couple of questions, and it starts with self-declaration about your character. So these are the questions they're going to ask you, and it's much more of a yes or no answer. Okay, if it's no, you choose. If it's yes, you go by it. Now the very first question we've got on here says, do you declare that you are of good character which enables you to practice safely and effectively? Okay, so if it's yes, you go for yes. If it's no, you go for no. Okay, so let's choose yes, and then let's move on to the next question. And the very second question we've got to answer is, have you received a police charge, caution, conviction, or conditional discharge other than a protected caution or conviction? If the answer is yes, you go for it. If the answer is no, but here let's choose no, and then click on next. And then the next question here is, have you worked in a country or state that require you to register but you didn't? If it's no, you go for no. If it's yes, you go for yes. So here you're going to choose no, and then you click on next. So you can see that you've got another question on here you've got to answer all in relation to the self-declaration about your character. Okay, so it says, have you ever had a finding that your fitness to practice is impaired by a body responsible for regulating or licensing a profession, including health and social care? If the answer is yes, you go for it. The answer is no, you go for it. So here you're going to go for no, and then click on next. Okay, so at this section you can see we've got police clearance. So you're going to provide an evidence that probably you're of good character, and this may come in the form of uploading a police clearance or a DBS certificate if you live in the UK. Okay, so I'm going to read and then you get to know the nitty-gritties of what they want to tell you on here. So it says, please provide a police clearance for each country you have lived in for 12 months or more within the last 10 years. Okay, so you're going to provide a police clearance for every country you have lived in for 12 years or more. If it's 2, if it's 3, you've got to get police clearance for all that. If you lived in the UK for more than 3 months at any point in the last 10 years, you should provide the UK DBS. Okay, so if you've lived in the UK for more than 3 months, then you need a DBS as well. These periods are total months since you were 18 years old and do not have to be consecutive. So what you've got to do is that you've got to enter the country of residence where you've lived, as well as the date of stay. So when did you get to that country, and then up to when did you stay? So you've got to provide the details on here. After entering this information, you've got to upload a scanned copy of your police clearance or DBS. Okay, and what the UK NMC have said is that probably this DBS or police clearance should not be issued more than 3 months. So the instruction is on here. It says, please ensure you oversee police clearance certificate, and where applicable, your UK DBS certificate have been issued within the last 3 months. So if it's something more than 3 months, then it is going to be refused. So you've got to keep an eye on that. And they said that you may experience a delay with your registration if you provide any certificate issued more than 3 months ago. So keep an eye. So let's say you've lived in different countries, let's say 3 countries. What you've got to do is that once you upload your first police clearance, you've got to click on add another, and you can enter the same details, upload, the police clearance, and then you've got to add them all on here. Now once everything is said and done, you click on next. So after pressing the next button, the next thing we're going to look at is what we call the English language proficiency check. Okay, so here it says we need information about your English language ability. So the UK NMC would want to find out if you can communicate effectively in English, because remember, becoming a nurse or midwife in the UK requires you to communicate with patients, service users, and then your colleagues. So it says we need some information about your English language ability to make sure that you are able to practice safely and effectively. And we ask everyone to provide one form of evidence that shows us how you meet the standard we have set. So the UK NMC has set a standard. Even if you are writing IELTS or you are writing OET, they've got a specific scores you're supposed to get to be able to use that resource to register with them. Okay, so let's move on to the next thing. Let's click on next and then look at what you've got to do next. So after pressing the next button, you'll be asked a very important question that says, what evidence do you have to support your English language? There are 3 different evidences. You've got to choose one of them, and whichever one you choose, you've got to prove to the UK NMC that through that medium you can communicate in English. So let's see. So you're going to select the evidence type you want to use. In this case, you'll be using the approved English language test, which is IELTS. Okay, for you, if you have written OET and then gotten the score you are looking out for, you can use that. If you want to use my training, you can use that. I know you may be wondering what has got to do with the training and then the practice. There are 2 different things. I've made a complete video about how to use the training to prove your English language proficiency. I'll leave the link in the description box so that you can check it out. And with my practice, it's just very simple. There are some people who have practiced nursing or who are practicing nursing in countries that are considered to be majority English speaking countries. So if someone of this sort wants to come to the UK to work as a nurse or midwife, probably they don't need to sit for any test. What they've got to do is to use their practice to prove to the UK NMC that they can communicate in English. So in that case, if you are such a person, you've got to choose the very last option, which is my practice. Okay, so yeah, take that into consideration. Now once you choose the approved English language test, they're going to ask you which test you took. So let's look at that. So here they're going to ask you which test did you take, and you've got to choose whichever test you took. If it's IELTS you took, you choose that. If it's OET you took, you choose that. So here you're going to choose IELTS, and then they are asking for the date of the test. Remember, the date is very important because IELTS expires after 2 years. So if you enter a date that is after 2 years, then what it means is that it won't be accepted by the UK NMC, and that you've got to either use a different method or reset. Okay, so yeah, you enter the date of the test, the TRF number. The TRF number means test report form number. There is a number on the form you've got to enter on here. This number the UK NMC can use to trace or track your IELTS results. Okay, so you've got to enter that. Now I believe if you did OET, you should have the same number on there as well, and you've got to enter your overall score as well as the individual scores you have for the reading, writing, speaking, and then in the listening. And after choosing your scores, you've got to upload your test report form. Okay, so you should have a scanned copy of your IELTS results, or if it's the OET, you should have a scanned copy. So you've got to upload that. And one thing I want to say is that, so let's say for you wrote IELTS twice and you want to club them. What you've got to do is that you have to upload all the 2 documents or all the 2 results on here. So all that you have to do is to choose add another, and you can enter the details of your second results, with which the UK NMC will compare and say, okay, you've clubbed your results, you meet the set criteria, and yeah, you are good to go. Okay, so yeah, this is something you have to take into consideration. And what they've said on here is that your language test must have been within the last 2 years. Okay, and you can combine the results from 2 settings. Yeah, so as I said earlier. After everything is said and done for the English language, what you've got to do is to press the next button, and here it takes you to another column that says scope of practice. So what they've said is that we need to know about your work plans once you become registered. Basically, this session is about your work plans once you are registered with the UK NMC. So they're going to ask you a couple of questions. Let's see that. So with the scope of practice, they would want to find out the field of nursing you would want to find yourself in. Okay, so you've got different options here, which is direct clinical care or management, adult and general care nursing. So if you are a general nurse, then that option is for sure. You also have direct clinical care or management, mental health nursing. If you're a mental health nurse, you go for that option. And if you're a midwife, you go for the direct clinical care or management midwifery. Okay, so you look at which one befits you and then you go for it. So yeah, just go through and then you choose which one befits you. So that's the scope of practice. So the next thing you've got to do is to choose the work setting, and the work setting happens to be a subset of the scope of practice. Okay, so do you want to work in the hospital? Do you want to work in the military? Do you want to work in the police? Okay, so you've got to choose. So there's an option that says hospital or other secondary care. So that will be for you if you are looking into GP practice. You've got GP practice and other primary care as well. So yeah, you go for the hospital or other secondary care. And then what I want to add is that you could see that you have name of employer, which is optional. If at the time of doing your registration you have an employer, then you can enter the name of your employer on there as well. And the country, the postcode and everything are optional. You click on next. And you may be asking, what if I haven't got an employer? What do I do? You just have to leave the place blank. Don't enter anything. Leave it blank. Okay. At this point, you're going to look at how to call the professional indemnity arrangements. With my little understanding about professional indemnity, it's just about ensuring that you are safe and sound in the environment you'll be working. Okay. And here, this is what the UK NMC has said. It says that I declare I hold or will hold when I begin practicing appropriate cover under an indemnity arrangement in relation to my practice. Yes or no? So here you've got to choose yes, because probably some of the employers may have this in place, and yeah, you've got to find out. But if not, then you've got to be looking at the possible ways to get a professional indemnity arrangement for yourself. But here choose yes. And it says if you are currently practicing in more than one setting, please tell us first about your arrangement in relation to your main practice settings. Please then add other arrangement to cover all your current practice settings. Okay, so yeah. And it goes further to say that I declare that my professional indemnity arrangement is by virtue of. So for some employers, as I said, they may have your professional indemnity in place. So the very first option is it by employment contract? Is it by a professional body membership? There are some, professional bodies that may give you that. And is it by private insurance arrangement? So yeah, depending on whichever you think you would want to go for. But what I would say is that find out from your employer if they provide professional indemnity or they have an arrangement like that for you. And we have the private insurance arrangement. So yeah, it's just about your safety and that of the patient to be taken care of. Okay, so there should be something in place for you so that in case something happens, something bad happens, you are covered up. Okay, so that's the basic stuff about the indemnity. Now there's an additional information by the UK NMC that says the nursing and midwifery, which is the NMC, does not provide indemnity arrangement for nurses, midwife and nursing associates. So they've made it clear to you they don't provide professional indemnity. So the fact that you register with the UK NMC doesn't mean that you'll be covered in times of encountering any bad situation or something like that. So just take notice of that. And you could see that I got the very last option that says I'm not practicing at this time, but I intend to have appropriate cover in place before I practice. So at this point, if you are not too sure of which one of these you have to go for, then you choose the very last option to say you are not practicing, but once you start practicing, you look at the possibilities or where you can get the arrangement from. Okay, so yeah, just look at that. So after that, you click on the next button. And then here you'll be given a summary and the final declaration. And when I say the summary, you'll be shown everything you've done so far, and then if there's any correction for you to make, you just click on the edit option by each one of them and then you do that. So you've got her declaration, which we did earlier. If you think there's an information in there that you entered wrongly, you can edit it. You've got a character declaration. If you think there's an information in there that is inconsistent, you can edit it. And you've got the English language, scope of practice, and all those stuff. You can edit it before you move on to the next session. And once you are convinced that every information you have entered in there is correct, then you've got to check some declarations. Okay, so the very first one says, I understand that I cannot represent myself as a registered nurse or midwife in the UK or a nursing associate in England until I'm accepted onto the register maintained by the NMC. If you agree to that, you check it. And you've got 4 more. You read it, and then if you think it befits you, you check them as well, and you click on next. Once you click on next, then you are getting to the very last part of the application, okay, which has to do with you getting ready to submit your application to the UK NMC. Now remember that all this while your name is not on the list of the UK NMC. It's just because you have not submitted your application yet. Your application is submitted when you make payment of your £153, and that is the next thing we're going to do. So here it says application ready to submit. As I said earlier, thank you, your information has been saved. Remember, upon all that you've done, your application has been saved. It's not been submitted to the UK NMC. So once you've made payments, you request your supporting declarations. To do this, please click make payment below. So here you're going to make payments, and then we see what happens next. So after the payment of your £153, you see the status of your UK NMC portal change. So the advice I will give after making payment of your £153 is that you've got to contact your medical practitioner to say the UK NMC has sent a declaration form for him or her to fill on your behalf. Okay, so you've got to reach out to ensure that they are aware of that. And what you've also got to do is that if you've not written your CBT yet, then you should be preparing to write your CBT and your OSCE. So once payment has been made and then you click on submit, your name is found on the UK NMC register, and you'll be left with CBT and then OSCE if you've not done your CBT yet. So yeah, this is basically how to go about the whole process. So if you've got any further questions about this, I think you can leave that in the comment section, and then I'll give answers to them as and when I can. I want to say a very big thank you to you for being with me up to this point. I believe that whatever I've said in here has been much more insightful, and that you can sit at the comfort of your home and then do the NMC registration all by yourself without any hindrance or fear. If this video has been very much helpful to you, I'll be very happy if you can hit the like button. I'll be very happy if you can share to as many people as you can. I'll be very happy if you can subscribe to this channel and become part of the family, so that anytime I upload, you become the very first person to get it. Thank you very much for being with me up to this point. Every link you need has been left in the description box. Hope to see you in my next video. Bye.